So last year, Spotify announced that they would not be paying out royalties to artists with less than 1,000 streams. Now, obviously, there's a lot of music that goes out
Yeah.
on your platform every single day. What is it up to now? Like 100,000 plus songs or
Songs per day.
sounds,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, per
Yeah,
day on
hundreds of millions of
Spotify,
songs. Yeah.
which is like an insane number when you think about a full year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of music. Um, but there were a lot of, kind of smaller, unknown artists that were upset about that policy.
Yeah.
What was the whole idea behind that?
Yeah. You set it up perfectly because um, when Spotify set up its royalty system, 15 years ago or whenever Spotify was founded, there was a pretty limited number of songs available. There weren't a bunch of distributors, you know, delivering tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of songs a day onto streaming services,
Mm.
um, and little inefficiencies, like little kind of parts of the royalty pool. When we were paying like $1 billion a year in royalties in 2014. We're paying out 10 billion now.
Right.
So
10x.
things that only impact like under 1% of streams didn't really used to add up. And once you're paying out 10 billion a year, they really do. And you've seen this explosion of so much put onto streaming services. Also, we were trying to get ahead of like explosion of AI tracks, right? Where with AI, someone might just, without even thinking about it, distribute tons of music to a service like Spotify. Um, and the policies really, Spotify makes no money from the policy. It's all about redistributing money within the royalty pool.
Okay.
So the way it works is each song needs to get 1,000 annual streams to participate in the royalty pool.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, there's like hundreds of millions of songs on Spotify now.
Yeah.
0.5% of streams are of songs with under 1,000 streams.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years ago, 2014, 0.5% of songs of, that's 0.5% of a billion. It's like, small enough. It probably isn't making that material an impact.
Yeah.
Now that's tens of millions of dollars a year. And the problem is those tens of millions of dollars would be getting split up in 2-cent monthly payments.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a song with under 1,000 annual streams generally kind of would earn on average.
Right.
Artists, it doesn't even pass the minimums for most distributors to collect the money. And it also creates a bunch of kind of schemes that we want to avoid, right? Someone uploading 10,000 songs, hoping they can get a few streams on each of them, a few pennies on each, and it adds up. Spam tactics like that.
Yeah.
So what we did was say, all right, for those tens of millions of dollars a year, especially getting ahead of the explosion of new music coming, should we split that up in 2-cent monthly payments to tens of millions of songs, or should we use that to increase the payments to the other 99.5% of streams? So all the numbers you see on Loud and Clear, artists making 1,000 a year, 10,000 a year, 1 million a year, they're all higher because of this policy. Everyone's payments went up. And so, level playing field, all songs subject to the same policy. And it means once you kind of reach that level, which tens of millions of songs reach that level, 600 million users on Spotify, trillions of streams, getting over 1,000 streams as an initial barrier isn't a high bar.
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to increase the payments for everyone else, protect the platform from spam, make sure the money is actually reaching artists. And that's how we've been thinking about it. But believe me, like the reason I work at Spotify, everyone I know works at Spotify, it's like help artists get paid. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And so I totally get how personal that feels when someone's putting their soul into their music.
Yeah.
They haven't reached that level. And that's tough. And you're thinking about,
I think they're kind of thinking about it like, I'm a broke, starving artist. I already don't make money off of my music. You're like Spotify's a multi-billion-dollar company. You guys are just kicking me while I'm down type of mentality. And I also think part of it is like artists don't really know how the streams are calculated, how the royalties are calculated. Like you explained in the briefing that we had earlier that they're weighted. So
Yep.
there's not a set royalty rate per stream. It's
Yep.
just depending on where it's coming from, who's streaming it, that
Yeah.
type of thing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that helps explain why, yeah, Spotify makes no money from that 1,000 stream policy because of the way the royalty pool's set up. Um, so for every streaming service, all the major streaming services pay the same way. Um, you have subscribers paying a monthly fee. Some services like Spotify have a free tier where there's music advertising. All the money made from music is put into a monthly pool. Roughly 2/3 of it goes back to rights holders, artists and songwriters, selected rights holders. Um, so yeah, all the streaming services, it's the same. 2/3 of all the money made from music. From there, there's no per stream rate. There's no fixed amount that any service is paying out, because listeners don't pay per stream. It's like if you were a listener, you're paying the same rate no matter how much music you listen to.
Mm-hmm.
If suddenly you listen to too much music, you have to pay more. That really degrades the streaming experience,
Sure.
gets fewer people to sign up. Every service pays out based on stream share. So stream share basically means if you get 1% of all streams, you get 1% of the royalty pool. Um, and, one of the takeaways we just shared in Loud and Clear is about stream share. It's that in 2024, for the first time, if you're an artist, if you got 1 in every 1 million streams on Spotify, you generated $10,000 on average.
Mm.
10 years ago, that would have been $1,000 on average if you had 1 in a million streams.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I talk to people about that stat, it kind of just sounds like trivia. You're like, oh, 1 in a million, $10,000. That's kind of cool. It's like a solid amount of money for 1 in every 1 million streams. But it's actually like the actual engine of how artists get paid in streaming. Every streaming service has roughly the same music catalog.
Mm-hmm.
Artists always deliver to every streaming service.
Right.
So you've got the same chance at getting 1 in a million streams or 1 in every 100,000 streams or whatever, level of popularity, level of stream share you want. The difference is on Spotify, you get paid the most for that level of popularity. If you get 1 in a million streams on Spotify, it pays more than any other service. And, that calculation, that stream share, that's actually how things get calculated. It's by your percentage of overall streams, not a fixed per stream rate.
Why is it so complicated?
I know. Well,
I mean, like, yeah, like what is like can artists and songwriters just get paid a fixed rate and like make it very simple and transparent for them to understand? I think that's the thing is like there's not a ton of transparency with how the system is set up. It's very complex
so
and
complex.
out of the range of understanding for the average musician to even understand.
Yeah,
right?
that's why I get why people talk about per stream rate because
It's an easy way
it's an easy way to understand it. Yeah, you know the check you were cut and you know how many streams you had.
which by the way, I'm guilty of.
Right.
Like I've told people, I only get paid 0.003 cents per stream.
Right.
Right.
And it's like I get why. And like, of course, you should. That's an easy calculation to do. Why wouldn't people do that? The thing with stream share is consumers love this kind of pay one price, listen to all the music you want experience, right? You compare that to iTunes and digital downloads where, if you're an artist, you want fans listening to as much music as possible. When a fan has to decide if they're going to pay more each time they stream, you're going to listen to a lot less music. You're going to listen only to artists you know. It's a really kind of different consumer experience. So once folks are able to listen to all the music they want each month, a fixed per stream rate, doesn't really make sense, right? If you're paying a certain amount each month, and Spotify, any other streaming service is paying out the rights holder a fixed amount. Once you hit that cap, you're gonna have to.
The economics don't make sense when
you
move it to the model that Spotify has, which is you pay monthly.
Yeah.
And you get access to all the music, all the podcasts in the world, and Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, podcasts, are paid separate. Like, people listening to podcasts doesn't take money from the music royalty
Got
pool.
it.
It's every service is the same. 2/3 of the revenue from music goes into the royalty pool. They pay out by stream share, and yeah,
Mm.
the per stream rate things, an interesting one because yeah, when I'm talking to artists, sometimes the thought experiment we'll do is, um, you think about what the streaming services would start to do if you were trying to make your per stream rate as high as possible
Hmm.
when artists do that calculation. So you envision this streaming service that paid out $1 per stream, and you'd say like, that sounds incredible, right? So first you start with like, what will listeners be paying for the service? All streaming services are around, I don't know, 11, $12 a month and more for a family plan in the US. Um, if a service was paying out $1 per stream, that means the average subscriber is listening to 10 songs a month, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, the service is just losing a ton of money on every subscriber, and that wouldn't sustain.
Right.
So
Right.
if a service has, 10, the listeners tend to listen to, 10 songs a month, you're not going to retain in your subscription.
Yeah.
You're not getting that much value from it if you're only listening 10 times a month. It's probably not that engaging a service. You probably aren't discovering new music. You're probably not telling your friends to sign up. Um, and it doesn't really signal that subscribers are getting much value from it at all. Um,
Mm.
what you want in the streaming model is fans who are really engaged, right? So if instead of 10 songs a month, a service with 100, streams per month, suddenly, now that's paying out 10 cents per stream on average, right? The amount people pay is the same. The denominator, you divide it by how many streams each subscriber tends to listen to.
Mm.
Um, the more engaged listeners are, the more big fans you have on a service, the lower the per stream rate is. And the reason Spotify has been able to grow royalties so fast from 1 billion to 10 billion, more than, any other service, 10 billion a year, is cause the service is so engaging. It's like where music fans listen to the most music, they're making the most playlists, they're sharing, they're retaining in Spotify because they love it, they're signing up because they heard from a friend it's really good, they're discovering new artists, going to buy their vinyl, going to their show, supporting them on social. All those amazing things happen because the service is engaging and people listen to a lot of music,
Right.
right? Like the same thing that makes the per stream rate look lower when you calculate it. That's the same reason why Spotify cuts the biggest paycheck, because we have the best product that would be able to build the best service around over time. Um, and so, yeah, it's really complicated because no one knows their own stream share. You know your stream count.
Right.
And so it's easy to do that division.
Right.
So what we're trying to do with Loud and Clear is just share all this data so artists can understand better because it's so complicated. I've been working at Spotify 6 years and I learn new things every day. Um, and yeah, I really feel for artists trying to navigate in this environment.